The war came along. Ben was enlisted, and I wanted to be in the Air Force. So I got in the Air Force. And I finished my training at Richfield, Utah, in primary engines.
Quite a change from Los Angeles, California.
Yeah, single-engine planes. And Ben, meanwhile, was in a training unit back east. And when I finished, I was waiting for a secondary school with multi-engines. And I wore glasses, so I couldn't fly combat. I could only do air training command or transport. So I went to New York to wait for the next school to open up. And while I was there, my agent, then the Louis Scher office, said there was a couple, Jan Kapura and Marta Eggeth, who were famous European stars, want to do a new book for The Merry Widow. They're looking for a writer. Do you want to talk to them? I didn't know anything about Broadway plays. I said, sure. I talked to them, told them what I had in mind, and they said, you're hired. And I said, wait a minute, I want to work with Ben Roberts. I was terrified. So I called Ben and said, will you write this with me? And he said, yeah. So we're both in the Army. I'm in the Air Corps. He's in the Army.
Was he stationed in the New York area?
He was stationed in the New York area. Uh-huh. So he would come to the hotel, and we worked on The Merry Widow. The producer was it was the New Opera Company, and that was the name of the company, and her name was Mero Yolanda Marion. And she was kind of a snobbish society lady. And all she kept saying as our book came along was, it's terrible, it's terrible. Well, we opened at the Majestic Theater, one of the largest theaters in New York. George Balanchine was our choreographer. Our musical director was very well known. And the play ran for a year and a half on Broadway. It was a smash, beautifully done. While we were in rehearsal, George Balanchine came to me and said, you know, I like your work so much. A friend of mine is producing a play. I'd like to introduce you to him. So he took me over to Vinton Friedley, who was producing another show called Jackpot with Ellen Jones, Nanette Fabry, Betty Baker. And they hired me to write Jackpot. So I said, I want Ben to write this with me. So Ben and I wrote Jackpot. While Jackpot was in rehearsal and The Merry Widow was in rehearsal, someone took me over to another producer named Richard Colmar, who was married to Dorothy Kilgallen. They were doing a show called Dream with Music. And they said, we'd like you to. I said, yeah, I'm doing it with Ben Roberts. So I was about 25 and had 3 Broadway shows running simultaneously.